Hello cherubs, and welcome back to the channel. I'm sorry it's been a minute. I know I said I'd put out a Katy Perry video in November, but I have a really good reason for taking the month off. I was eepy. Also, I guess I'll address the elephant in the room.
Y'all see the bruise? There's one here too.
Get your minds out of the gutter. I had a close encounter with Nosferatu and I barely made it out alive. So earlier this year, I made a video about trans rights where I said, right off the bat, I want to let you know that I intend to steer clear of the most common anti-trans talking points. For example, the idea that trans people should not be allowed to use their preferred bathroom. Newsflash, if you are sitting on a toilet furiously picturing the genitals of the person once all over, you are using the bathroom incorrectly. I said this because I honestly thought that in the fight for transgender equality, we were well beyond the bathroom discussion at this point. But if you've been paying attention to the shenanigans in the headlines, well, Newsweek, November 21st, 2024. Nancy Mace has posted 326 times in the last 72 hours about bathrooms. I guess we're doing this. Can I level with you guys for a second? At any given moment, there is some sort of political scandal or vacuous case of infighting that's taking over headlines or my timeline, and most of the time, I don't pay it any mind. And I really thought it was going to be the case with this issue. But a few weeks ago, I saw a series of back and forth exchanges on X pertaining to what we have collectively dubbed the trans bathroom debate. And at first I was just going to write this off as, oh, just another very normal day on this
very normal website.
But I found myself getting sucked in deeper, and by the time I got to the end of where these posts, videos, and YouTube comments led me, I realized that I actually do have something to say. I don't really have a good segue for this, so let's just jump into it. Oh, maybe for the parts we could like theme it around the bathroom since that's what this conversation's about. That's festive. Part 1, Lock the Stalls. Before we go any further, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I mean, if this video popped up in your feed, you probably already have some idea about what we're going to talk about, but if you're joyfully unaware, let me give you the SparkNotes version. On November 5th, 2024, Sarah McBride became the first openly transgender woman ever to be elected to Congress.
The 119th Congress will have several members whose elections made history. One of them is Representative-elect Sarah McBride. You defeated your Republican opponent by a comfortable margin. What does your win say to you about your constituents?
I think this election, this result, reinforces what I've seen throughout my life, which is that Delawareans are fair-minded, and that in our state of neighbors, we judge candidates based on their ideas and not their identities.
Later that month, fellow Congresswoman Nancy Mace proposed a resolution with the expressed goal of prohibiting members, officers, and employees of the House from using single-sex facilities other than those corresponding to their biological sex.
Here she comes down the stairs, actually. We're going to try to talk to her as she comes this way. Congresswoman Mace, can I ask you a question as you walk here? So the question is, with your piece of legislation about banning women from using...
100% yes. I'm not going to allow biological men into women's private spaces. I will stand in the brink and stand in the way of anyone on the radical left who thinks that it's okay for a penis to be in a women's locker room or a bathroom or a changing room. Hell no.
So we're not even in office yet and we're already bullying our coworkers? I know some knucklehead in the comments is going to be like,
It's not bullying, Gordon. Nancy didn't even mention anybody by name.
she didn't have to. Let's use our brains. Sarah McBride is the only transgender person to ever be elected to Congress. This is designed to attack her. And Sarah McBride responded, quote, I'm not here to fight about bathrooms. I'm here to fight for Delawareans and to bring down costs facing families. Like all members, I will follow the rules as outlined by Speaker Johnson, even if I disagree with them. I've seen a lot of criticism lobbed at Sarah McBride for this response, but can we just acknowledge that she's in an impossible situation? She agrees to adhere to the resolution and people criticize her for bowing to discrimination, but if she chose to fight back against it, she'd be labeled by right-wing media as being pushy and unreasonable, and they'd accuse her of making everything about being trans, which would only give further ammunition to anti-trans extremists who are trying to discriminate against trans people at every chance they get. You can't really win in a situation like this, but I do think McBride's approach is the smarter, more strategic response. She keeps the conversation on track about the job that they're both there to do, and Nancy Mace walks away from this looking like a childish, attention-seeking troll. But at any rate, I'm not even trying to get into that conversation today, because this video isn't about Sarah McBride or Nancy Mace. I'm here today to talk to you about Brad Palumbo. If you've been following this channel for a while, you might recall that I briefly talked about Brad earlier this year in the same video I mentioned at the start. Brad Palumbo is an openly gay YouTuber, independent journalist, and political commentator. In case you've forgotten, Brad's most popular content follows a similar title structure. Normal gay guy reacts to cringe LGBT TikToks. Normal gay guy reacts to unhinged woke TikToks. Normal gay reacts to annoying LGBTQ TikToks. These videos have collectively amassed hundreds of thousands of views, and I'm sure you can use your imagination to figure out what they're like. So how does Brad Palumbo fit into this puzzle? Well, after Nancy Mace unveiled her targeted harassment campaign, her very serious fight for girls and women, Megyn Kelly took to X, writing, "Why should Nancy Mace or any other female member of Congress/staff have to share their bathroom with a man pretending to be a woman? It's not about the feelings of the man masquerading as a fake woman. It's about not forcing actual women to have to worry that a man is in their bathroom when they are vulnerable, and which is supposed to be a safe, private, female-only space. Members should stand up for women's rights and not be cowed by empty claims of bullying. Women are the ones being bullied into submission." Side note, it's really depressing how Megyn Kelly, once upon a time, was actually kind of cool and one of the few voices of reason on Fox News. It's just been a downhill slide ever since that fiasco on her talk show.
But what is racist? Because truly, you do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on blackface for Halloween, or a black person who puts on whiteface for Halloween. Like, back when I was a kid, that was okay as long as you were dressing up as like a character.
Oh, Megyn. Enter stage right Brad Palumbo with a response to Megyn's post. Now, based on what you've heard so far about Brad Palumbo, you might expect a very specific kind of response. After all, this is the guy who spent hundreds of hours reacting to, in his words, cringe, unhinged, and bizarre LGBTQ people. So what was his reply? "Hi Megyn, respectfully disagree with you on this issue. Would be up for a conversation about it if you're interested." Oh? How queer. As a casual observer of Brad's content, this actually wasn't very surprising to me. Megyn never responded to his tweet, so I guess she wasn't interested. But oh, the peanut gallery sure was. Pipe down. No one cares that you think men in dresses should take priority over women. Yes, please tell a woman that she should shut up and let a man in her space. Another man telling woman what they should accept. Brad received dozens of comments like this, accusing him of talking over women and mansplaining. But kudos to Brad, he did not back down. Part 2, Papa Squat. Just an hour after Brad replied to Megyn, he posted the following to X. "Sorry Republicans, but bathroom bills make no practical sense and do nothing to protect women's safety. Anyone who, tragically, is going to harm women in the bathroom isn't deterred by a policy. Locker rooms and places where people are nude are a different story, but women's bathrooms are literally all stalls. Forcing this kind of ridiculous outcome, like forcing Buck Angel into the women's room, would actually make women more uncomfortable than letting trans women use the women's bathroom." Well, I can't say that I agree with the locker room part, but at least he's got the spirit. This post by Brad was actually a quote adding onto a post from Armand Domalewski, which included photos of Buck Angel and Sarah McBride, a transgender man and transgender woman respectively. And honestly, this should have been the nail in the coffin for this entire debate. Cause guys, let's be so serious right now. You're really going to argue that the man on the left should be using the women's restroom and the woman on the right should be using the men's? You sound insane. But still, Brad's followers were not having it. You don't have the right to give away the consent of any woman or girl. Check your male privilege and sit down. What's ridiculous is a man using the women's room. Mentally ill men pretending to be women do not belong in women's spaces/bathrooms. This is what systemic misogyny looks like. F up with your gaslighting, mansplaining abuse. Now hold on. Having a different opinion now makes Brad a misogynist? Isn't this exactly what Republicans accuse Democrats of doing when they lob the word bigot around frivolously? I don't want to do this, guys. Can't we just listen to Magdalena Bay and chill out? But oh my God, 22 more minutes. Brad continued fighting the good fight on X over a period of 3 days, getting into it with several others, including someone named Allie Beth Stuckey, which I paused to point out that when I said her name to a friend, his response was, "What did you just call me?" So who or what is an Allie Beth Stuckey? Part 3, Wipe Well. Allie Beth Stuckey is a complex, multifaceted woman. She's a proud conservative, a pious Christian, a mother of 3, but perhaps most importantly, she's an Avengers superfan, shipping Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes so hard that she changed her last name to Stuckey in a show of solidarity. So Allie Beth sees Brad's posts and feels compelled, perhaps by God, to give her 2 cents. This is stupid, Brad. By your logic, there should be no policy protecting sex-separate spaces, since predators are going to violate the rules anyway. People respond to incentives and deterrence. A man entering women's private spaces should carry consequences. Women change, pump, and change diapers in bathrooms. The last people we want to be around while we're doing these things is men who pretend to be women. I find men like that far scarier than a regular man, because their cosplay is almost always motivated by a dark sexual fetish and a hatred for women. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, tell us how you really feel. Brad then responded to Allie Beth with 3 photos of transgender men, adding, "By your logic, these people should be forced to enter the women's room. I'm sorry, but that does not make sense and will not make women safer or more comfortable." And at this point, Brad was invited by Allie Beth for a spirited debate on her podcast. Oh joy. Allie Beth Stuckey runs a podcast called Relatable with Allie Beth Stuckey. She posts the podcast episodes on her YouTube channel where she has just under 600,000 subscribers, with such popular classics as Ex-Witch reveals LA's dark world of sex cults and blood offerings. Ex-Psychic says Taylor Swift promotes witchcraft. But why the obsession with witchcraft though? Let my girl Elphaba live her life. I wonder what she's been up to recently. I was living a double life, breaking free from LGBTQ sin. Oh. I see. Okay. I am aware that this podcast is probably geared towards elderly fundamentalists whose children and grandchildren don't talk to them anymore. I get it, I'm not the target demo. But you know what? I'm open-minded. I'm willing to hear different perspectives. So let's see what this is all about.
Okay, Nancy Mace is rightfully raising a respectful ruckus.
Oh, I actually love that. Rightfully raising a respectful ruckus. We've got some alliteration, that's fun. And being respectful. God, don't we all need that? There is so much toxicity in the world. You can't even have a halfway decent conversation with your neighbors anymore.
This, of course, drew immediate criticism from the Democratic representative. Sarah is what he goes by, McBride.
Now hold on. I thought we were being respectful, but we're jumping right to calling Sarah McBride a man?
These are women's spaces and we should have a say. We shouldn't have to bend to the rules of men who wear a skirt, who say that they have a right to infiltrate our spaces. You could feel for McBride and say, wow, if he really does feel like he's trapped in the wrong body, which I don't think is true for the majority of men who identify as women. I think it's more of a fetish, and you can have compassion for that.
Wow.
But if your empathy leads you to lie, to affirm his delusions, to encourage sin, then your empathy has become toxic. Christians are not called primarily to empathy. We are called to the truth in love.
Oh, truth and love.
Bitch, me too!
You know, Stuckey, I think it's a bit curious how interested you are in the Lord's teachings, because doesn't the Bible say that you're supposed to submit to your husband and that your work is in the home? Because judging by the output on your channel, it seems like you're working a full-time job, meaning that you can't possibly be home enough to be fulfilling your religious duties, and yet you identify as a mother.
God is love, 1 John 4:8. He gets to define it. 1 Corinthians 13:6 says, love never rejoices in wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth.
Now, who do you think you're talking to, young missy? 1 Timothy 2:12, I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man. Rather, she is to remain quiet. Alright, since we're done even pretending to be respectful, let's move on and see what Anaheim Stinky has to say. So the debate starts with her introducing Brad Palumbo and providing him with the opportunity to make his argument.
Yeah, we're talking about this push in Congress from Nancy Mace and other Republicans to specifically prohibit Congress members and workers in Congress who identify as trans women from using women's restrooms in particular, but also other sex-segregated facilities. And I guess I just see the whole thing as a solution in a search of a problem.
In short, Brad's argument is this. Trans people have been using the facilities corresponding with their gender identity at the Capitol for years, and there have been no problems. Zooming out, instances of assault, harassment, and voyeurism are statistically rare overall. In blue areas where gender identity ordinances have been passed, there's been no increase with these types of behaviors. And enforcing a biological sex bathroom rule would actually make women more uncomfortable than if they were to share bathrooms with trans women, because it would mean women would have to share stalls with people who have beards, are muscular, and generally have a masculine appearance. So what does Allie think of this?
It is, of course, women who are justifiably nervous about the 6'2" guy who happens to be wearing a skirt and lipstick coming into her bathroom, not only with her, but also with her 10-year-old daughter, also while she may be breastfeeding, also while she may be pumping.
You want to get pumped?
While While she may be changing, she may be doing things that of course require privacy. That's why we have bathrooms. That's why we have stalls.
So I don't actually disagree with anything she's saying here. Women's bathrooms do allow for privacy for those sensitive moments. But my question to her is, and what? Her argument is that women are breastfeeding, changing, doing exposing things in the bathroom, and we shouldn't let trans women in because, I mean, what's the implication of what she's saying here? She thinks that trans women are perverts, that it's unsafe for trans women to be around your children.
Coming into her bathroom, not only with her, but also with her 10-year-old daughter.
That the only reason they want to use the women's restroom is so they can stare at women's breasts.
While she may be breastfeeding, also while she may be pumping.
You want to get pumped?
In response to this, Brad points out that safety and comfort is important to him, but again points to the fact that what Alamo Streaky is arguing for would actually make women more uncomfortable, because it would mean that someone's 10-year-old daughter could potentially be forced to wash their hands next to a trans man. This, unsurprisingly, completely goes over her head. So at this point, Annabelle spends the next minute and a half bringing up different instances of women being attacked in restrooms, seemingly by trans women, and then tries to make it seem like Brad doesn't care about this.
Well, you might say that this is rare. They matter. And they're one too many.
Oh, I completely agree they matter.
And Brad says, without skipping a beat,
of course I believe they matter. So let's not make that mistake. But in the same way that it would be wrong for me to read you a list of Christian priests who've molested children.
How can you not love this? Another thing Brad points out is that if a trans woman were to go into a woman's restroom and harass a woman, that's still illegal. So what would this law even do for somebody who's already breaking the law?
I understand that not every man who identifies as a woman is going to inflict violence upon a girl or a woman. It's not only that, though. It is in violation of reality. It is in violation of the truth. I think that there is a cost to saying that 2 + 2 = 5.
Patty, don't start. Because you'd believe 2 + 2 was 5 if your pastor said so.
Allie, you've probably used a bathroom alongside a trans person many times.
Okay, you're acting like they go incognito. Like,
many do.
I
Many
can see.
pass.
No, I probably haven't. I would have noticed. It's very, very noticeable.
Did you guys catch that? It's very noticeable. The mean girl jumped out, huh?
She said you like a man.
You know what? Why don't we go back to truth in love for a minute? Because when it comes to the we can always tell who's trans crowd, y'all need a wake-up call, because clearly you can't. Just last week, I got a comment on my video saying, first off, you are a biological woman. And I really don't care what you are, it's just the facts. LGBTQ fought for same-sex rights for 35 years. We are no one's shield. Do your own work. Stop deceiving people. I mean, I can't be that fishy. Also, there are plenty of cisgender women who would not pass under these very narrow definitions. Sigourney Weaver is 6 feet tall with an athletic build. Gwendolyn Christie is 6'3" and towers over most men. And what about Nancy Mace herself? Some might say that she has a harsh, angular face, or that she does her makeup like a drag queen. And we can't forget our girl Marjorie Taylor Greene with her, say it with me,
bleach blonde, bad built butch body.
But Sigourney Weaver is beautiful. Gwendolyn Christie's beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with Nancy Mace doing her makeup like a drag queen. The point here is not to criticize someone's appearance. Frankly, I think that's disgusting. The point is that enforcing sex-based bathrooms actually isn't feasible because men and women have a lot of different looks.
You think that there should be nuance and maybe different kinds of regulations when it comes to locker rooms. Tell me why, though, because you don't seem to think that this is a big issue in bathrooms where women are at least half naked.
Hold on. Women are getting half naked in a bathroom now? What are you people doing in there? And what are you doing in locker rooms that you're so nervous about being caught? Is Nancy Mace manspreading in her birthday suit, getting motorboated by MTG?
Women are at least half naked. She may be pumping.
What kind of pumping is this? Wow.
What happened to modesty? What happened to decorum?
So if it makes him uncomfortable for men to be in bathrooms, why isn't that enough?
Well, many women, it doesn't make them uncomfortable for trans women to be in women's bathroom. Hundreds of female Democratic...
Look, trans people just want to use the bathroom and change in the locker room like anybody else. And as someone who cares about the safety of women and girls, and the safety of men and boys, the safety for anybody using the bathroom, my opinion is, use whatever bathroom you want, just please, for the love of God, wash your hands when you're done. Ew. Part 4, wash your hands, and that was relatable with Clarabelle Stunky. So, after all of the screaming and crying, after all of the debating and back and forths, where are we left? Did Brad change Allie's mind? Did Brad change anybody's mind? Let's check out the comments. Brad may say he's a libertarian, but he is not in touch with reality. Why do we even need to debate this? Respect our feelings that vast majority of women don't want this. Brad comes across as sexist. Thank you. Thank you, Allie, for being relentlessly honest. Keep fighting for God's truth. Allie, thank you for letting the Lord use you to boldly speak out against these demonic agendas. Okay, well, that's a little disheartening. But in fairness, Allie Beth has clearly cultivated an audience of like-minded fanatics, so this is kind of par for the course. Oh, Brad commented on the video too. Enjoyed the conversation and spirited debate. Well, I didn't. Even though I agree with Allie, I do think you won that debate. I'm confused. If someone wins a debate, doesn't that mean that they made the better argument? Shouldn't this person have changed their mind? It's almost like debates are just empty public spectacle designed to keep the masses enraged and waste all of our time. Guess nothing about that too much. Oh, and look at that. Brad also released an episode on his podcast about the same topic. It can be hard to have nuanced conversations on X, especially with how reactionary things have gotten lately. So if he's given the time to thoroughly make his case, surely things will end up differently, right? I disagree. No biological men in women's restrooms. It is ridiculous that this needs to be a law. It should be common sense. Mr. McBride is entitled to his fantasy life. Women, however, are under no obligation to participate in it. He needs to respect that reality and stay out of female privacy/safety spaces. I can't fathom making 50% of the population uncomfortable to make less than 1% comfortable. Okay, well, I hate to take it there, but wasn't this the same argument that racists used when the government stepped in to force desegregation in public schools? I completely disagree with you. Just because trans women have been using the women's room for years doesn't mean it should continue. They have shamed women into approving this. Once again, a man mansplains women's feelings. Shame on you, Brad. No one is obligated to indulge another's delusion. And the motherlode of all comments. I'm really starting to understand why some people were against marriage equality, because it seems like as soon as we got to that point, all the kookery started. The people that were against it said exactly this would happen. And I say this as someone who was for marriage equality. Seriously, Brad, should we wait for incidents? And it's not just about safety either. Why do women like Nancy Mace who have been SA'd have their feelings disregarded for those of people like Sarah? Maybe we shouldn't have to change societal norms for those that are bizarre and dysfunctional. Leave things alone. People are tired of these slippery slopes. Okay. It's time to get serious. This is where we're at with transgender rights. The bar is not on the floor. It's in hell. So what do we take away from all of this? Well, I have a couple of thoughts. Firstly, a large segment of this country is obviously very, very transphobic. I don't know how you can read these comments and come away with any other conclusion. And some days it seems to be getting worse. It's going to take time and work to change that, and we need everybody involved. Gay people need to speak up, and straight men and women need to speak up too. Because the reality is, like Brad said, there are plenty of women who have no problem with trans women using the restroom with them. My mom is one of them. Secondly, I want to drill in on this comment about gay marriage. If your seething hatred of trans people has led you to believe that the fight for marriage equality was a mistake, how do you not wake up? And if you support gay rights but not trans rights, and you've somehow watched the video up to this point, I don't mean to fearmonger, but this is the end result of the cause you've taken up. If anti-trans politicians are able to get their way, whatever that looks like, excluding trans people from public life, making gender transition illegal, forcefully detransitioning adults against their will, if they get their way, gay people are next. Maybe you think I'm being dramatic and that the ship on gay marriage has sailed, but think about Roe v. Wade for a second. Roe v. Wade was decisioned in 1973 and just struck down this year. Gay marriage, on the other hand, was only federally legalized within the last decade. Our rights are not set in stone. And now, I have some things I would like to say to Mr. Palumbo himself.
If you're listening, I want you to hear me, please.
Firstly, what did you expect? You've amassed a huge audience by making dozens of videos where you hyperfixate on trans people or non-binary people, or really any LGBTQ people caught doing cringy and embarrassing things online. Did you really expect a different outcome? Actually, I think you thought you were helping push acceptance for LGBTQ people. I would bet money, not a lot, like $5, that you saw the influx of people reacting to cringy, bizarre, woke LGBT people. I bet you saw it and thought, oh wow, this is making us look really bad. And then you thought, I know what I'll do. I will make reaction videos as a regular, normal gay person. And then people will see that and think, oh, gay people aren't so bad. Now that's a long-winded way of me saying that, despite the backlash you've gotten from people on the left, I think that you think You were sticking up for LGBTQ people in some sense. I mean, you're a gay man with a husband, you have to have some sense of self-preservation. But I think it's time to grapple with the idea that maybe you have not made the world safer for gay people. You might have done the opposite. In my opinion, you could be doing a lot more to move the needle in terms of acceptance for gay people. You're a talented debater, you're great at making strong arguments, and I'm not just saying that to blow smoke up your ass. But you know what? Maybe that's pointless, because you calmly and rationally and logically shared your opinion on X, Allie's podcast, and your own, but did anybody actually change their mind? Well, no, because you can't reason somebody out of an opinion that they didn't reason themselves into. I mean, why do people like Allie Beth Stuckey really have a problem with trans people using their preferred restroom? Are these people having thoughtful internal monologues? Are they looking at the evidence? Are they talking with trans people to form their opinion? Of course not. I find men like that far scarier than regular men. Their cosplay is almost always motivated by a dark sexual fetish and a hatred for women.
I think it's more of a fetish.
Come on, folks, it was there the whole time. When you're talking about keeping trans women out of women's restrooms, and you're saying it's all in the name of women's safety, what is the implication? That trans women are dangerous. And what about our dear friend Nancy Mace? Why is she sticking up for women and girls?
Hey, do me a favor. Let's take a look at Congresswoman McBride, or Congressman McBride. Take a look at what she said at the Democrat National Convention. She invited to speak there at the age of 24 for no apparent reason other than the transgender stuff.
4 years ago, I came out as transgender while serving as student body president in college. At the time, I was scared. I worried that my dreams and my identity were mutually exclusive. Since then, though, I've seen that change is possible. I witnessed history interning at the White House and helping my home state of Delaware pass protections for transgender people.
Just eating up the applause. How do you feel about her rise to this kind of prominence? Being a member of Congress is a big deal, and I can't see any other accomplishment other than being a transgender.
Well, I've broken many glass ceilings. As you said, I was the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. I'm the first Republican woman ever elected to Congress from the great state of South Carolina. It is offensive that a man in a skirt thinks that he's my equal.
Oh, there it is. The underlying belief behind all bigotry.
I'm not going to allow biological men into women's private spaces. Hell no. I'm not going to stand for it.
It is offensive that a man in a skirt thinks that he's my equal.
Such a nasty woman.
Nancy Mace thinks that trans people are beneath her. Or, put another way, she thinks she's better than trans people. Kind of ironic, because I can't think of a human being less deserving of respect than someone who doesn't show respect themselves. So what will Brad do with these newfound revelations? Will we see a change? Will we get a libbed out Brad Wokelumbo? It's a stupid joke. Well, in the midst of all of Brad's tweeting in support of trans people pissing into whichever commode they so choose, an X account called End Wokeness made the following post. Transportation Secretary, old versus new, juxtaposing Pete Buttigieg and his husband holding their adopted children against a photo of Sean Duffy with his family.
Okay.
Brad quoted the post, writing, "Both photos are of beautiful families. I guess end wokeness just means disliking gay people?" Yes, Brad, I'm so glad you finally noticed. This has been painfully obvious to anybody paying attention for the last few years. I was a little optimistic when I saw this post. Maybe, combined with the responses he saw over a pretty mid-take on Nancy's bathroom resolution, this would be an epiphany for Brad. Unfortunately, my optimism was short-lived. Just a week later, Brad posted a screenshot of an article from lifestyle magazine Queerty with the headline, "The gayest Thanksgiving dish is ranked. It's giving thanks." Like it's giving, but it's like you're giving thanks, but it is giving. I think that's funny. Do you think Brad thought it was funny too? Why are the alphabet people like this? Laughing crying emoji, skull emoji, facepalm emoji. So laughing at them, not with them. It's kind of demoralizing to see how someone can be so smart and so stupid at the same time. But you know what? At my heart, I am a hopeless optimist. So Brad, congratulations on hitting 150,000 subs. I hope you'll think about how you can better use that platform. Alright, enough of my woke lecturing. If you made it this far, I appreciate you for watching, and I would really like to know your opinion on all of this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you'd like to support me and the work I do on this channel, consider signing up at patreon.com/Gordon A. Bishop. This video was a bit of a struggle to make because, honestly, it's kind of depressing hearing people talk about other human beings in such a nasty way, but it comes with the territory, so I hope I was at least able to make this entertaining for you. So if you liked it, be sure to give me a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. You stayed to the very, very end, so I have one more thing for you. So like I said in the video, Brad made a lot of posts in that 3-day period, and one of them was reposted by Nancy Mace. Do you stand to pee? Then take a seat. This isn't about you. Nancy, if he can stand to pee, then why would he sit? Not very bright, this one. So Brad reposted that and said, so my argument about the practical implication of the public policy you are implementing is wrong/invalid because I'm a man. That's identity politics, anti-logic, Congresswoman. My points wouldn't be more or less true if a woman said them. You sound like a woke feminist. Nancy Mace, a woke feminist. I can't ever delete this app. It's happening on X. The it in question is nothing good at all, but it's definitely happening there.